Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Our guest today has been competing since 2014, and after 3 overall wins in a row, she went on to compete at USA's in 2015, where she actually landed in last callouts before taking a 6-year break from the stage. But when she came back in 2021, her first place streak continued at her first 2 shows before she went on to place 8th at Universe, win her overall at NorCal, and earn her pro card at the Ben Weider Natural right before making her pro debut at the Texas Pro and earning 5th, which are all huge accomplishments. And since then, she has continued to have success in her pro career while earning her bachelor's degree and starting a new job, which I'm really excited for you guys to hear more about that. So welcome to the show, Lawna Dunbar. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. I'm so happy you're here. And I have to ask, because I start every episode this way, if there is a ritual you have or something you do or think about right before your heel hits the stage.
That's a really good one. Honestly, I take quite a few deep breaths and just try to center and ground myself. And then I kind of think laser focus, like Eye of the Tiger on the judges. I used to be a dancer, so just kind of playing to the crowd comes to my mind, but not so much the crowd, just eyes on the judges. That's kind of what I think about.
Love that. Love that. Now, some people are uncomfortable with looking at the judges, or they think that they should look past the judges. I think it's important to be making that eye contact, but what would you tell someone who's nervous to do that or worries about it?
I agree with you. I think if you're nervous to make that eye contact, then simply maybe look between the judges or just above their head or just below their eyes. That way it looks like you're looking at them, but you don't have to feel so awkward maybe.
Yes. And I know for me personally, after you get up there a few times and you start to know the judges or know their faces, or if you can look up pictures of them beforehand, honestly, use that in visualization when practicing posing. And I think it makes a big difference.
Honestly, it does. I think if you practice every little movement down to, your hand flick, your hair flick, even your facial expressions, maybe you're smiling or you're smizing or, all of that really matters. And if you practice all of that, every little detail, it's going to help you feel more comfortable.
Oof. Yes, that is such great advice. And on the subject of rituals, you have been blogging your experience on YouTube and you share your journey along the way. And before earning your IFBB Pro card, you were sharing how the night before your show, you like to just chill and watch murder mysteries. And I was like, is this a thing? Has that always been a thing for you?
I don't know. Okay, so I don't know if that's just me. I kind of thought all girls like to watch creepy murder shows, but my husband laughs at me because that's so not him. But I don't know, just something about the Dateline sound or CSI or just, when that little tune comes on, I know, I don't know, I feel at home almost because I watch those at home. So it's just relaxing to me.
Yeah, well, that's good. I guess it kind of brings that energy from chilling at home to chilling in the hotel.
Yes, it's calming. Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, let's actually just go back to your whole competition journey because let me go to 2021 instead of all the way back first, because I will want to get to that 6-year break. But you started 2021 not feeling happy with yourself. You were picking yourself apart all the time. And then you ended 2021 as an IFBB Pro. So what led you to want to get back on stage and back into competing when you were feeling that way?
Right. So kind of pre-COVID 2020. So in January, my husband and I were like, it's been so long since we competed. Do you think we still have it? Should we try? And we started to prep from January until the world shut down in March. So there was like a little stint of a prep right there in 2020. It didn't happen because our shows kept getting canceled. So we got like a little, voucher to redeem our entry fee for the following year. So, but back to that question, like, why did I want to come back? I just think it was always a passion of mine, and it was always a what if, or do I still have it, or you know what I mean? Like I never didn't love it, and I always did think about it. So I kind of just wanted to see if I could do it again and if I would still be competitive,
Yes, definitely. Now, when you say you wanted to see if you could still be competitive, you ended up coming back and you freaking crushed it. So, like, was this confirmation for you? Like, if do you think if that show had gone differently, then we wouldn't maybe be having this conversation?
I think so, definitely. So that first show back in 2021, it was in May, called the Mother Load. I prepped myself and did a pretty good job. I could have definitely come in leaner, and I knew that like nutritionally, I didn't know all there was to know. I knew I could be eating more and doing less cardio, or just, not as rapid of a weight loss. So I'd reached out to my now coach, Paul Revelia, and he helped me to prep in my peak week for my second show, the Sacramento show. And just in like one peak week with him, I lost like 3 pounds and already came in that much better. But if Motherload hadn't gone so well, if I hadn't gotten first, I think I could have been pretty bummed. But I am a pretty determined person, so I may have wanted to come back even better regardless.
Yeah, I could see that too. Like, especially because you said you really still loved competing and loved the lifestyle.
Yes.
So I'm curious why you took those 6 years off after USA's that year.
Totally. So after USA's, I was finishing up my degree, and I was going into the credential program to be a teacher where, you become a student teacher and you work with your mentor, and that's like a whole year long thing. So I was like, okay, Lana, let's buckle down. You're going to start your career. And I was tapped for money because I'd spent all my money on like the last 4 shows that I did as a college student. So I was like, just kind of shifted gears in a way. And being in college, like a couple of my grades suffered slightly for the fact that I was in prep and that was more my passion. So like, for example, I still had like I think I still had a 3.5, but I had like a random C or something like that, So I just felt like I needed to focus on my career. And then one thing led to another. I finished school, and then I got engaged, and then it's like, okay, well now I'm planning a wedding, and then I'm planning my honeymoon, and then we bought a house, and then we bought a dog, and then, just one thing led to the next. So it just took us away, and then we traveled and all those things. So, but I never forgot about it,
Yeah, it sounds like life just happened. And
Totally. It did.
I think it's super cool that you pursued that and you gave yourself the space you needed to achieve other goals. And it seems like it was always on your mind. So I'm wondering how your lifestyle looked or changed when you weren't competing, and maybe what habits you had to take on again that you hadn't had in a while when you came back.
Right. So I have always been into movement and fitness, and I mean that's literally what I went to school for. So it is good that I have that background, and even while not competing, I continued to lift weights. I continued to go to the gym. Sometimes I would try a more CrossFit style gym. Sometimes I would try like Orange Theory, or, just to mix it up and have fun. But I always, no matter what, continued to lift weights in all of those years. It wasn't like, 5-6 days a week, but I would say on average 4 to 5 days a week, I would be lifting weights. So just like building the foundation.
Yes. So aside from, of course, continuing your lifestyle that you love, which was movement and curiosity with fitness and supporting your body, how did those 6 years of focusing on other things maybe support you in coming back and bringing what you've brought to the stage?
That's a good one. I love that one actually. I just feel like because I was 21 and 22 the first time around, that is fairly young to be getting into the competition world. As far as like maturity and money and stability and all of those things. So coming back at 28, it was a lot different. Like I have a career, I have a husband who has a career, like we own a home and, we have established routines and, like savings and things like that. Um, as long as just more life experience. And I feel like it's really helped me to be able to endure all of the things that I did do this last year and just make it all work. Because not only, was I working full time, I was going to grad school full time and I was prepping full time. And if I didn't experience all of these things through the past, 6, 7 years, that could have maybe made me crack.
Mhm. Yeah, because what if you had invested everything into competing and competing alone and you were like, these other goals aren't worth it? You might have left feeling unfulfilled in many other areas of life.
For sure. I think another important thing that you just made me realize is that I have an identity outside of competing. I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I have other things that fulfill me in my life. And this is just like a cherry on top for me.
Love that point because I think it's easy to get very wrapped up in this. So, do you find that it's hard to show up in those identities outside of competing when you are in like the thick of, let's say, prep or doing these back-to-back shows?
Right. You have to be, everybody I think knows this, but you have to be like very scheduled and regimented. Like everything has to be pre-planned. So it can get stressful if something random does happen. I usually, if I'm in prep, I know what I'm doing every single weekend and I know what I'm doing from sun up to sundown. So it can be difficult if like something gets thrown in there that wasn't planned for, you know?
Yeah, like I'm sure with your dogs, there's probably things that
Oh,
happen.
oh yes. Oh yes. A couple vet bills here and there. And yeah, little troublemakers.
So, what's a normal day in the life look like for you now that you've got this new job and you're not commuting as much? You're finishing grad school. Like, walk us through a normal day.
Totally. So I still get up really early or early for some. I usually get up around 4 o'clock and try to be to the gym around 4:30. If I'm doing legs and a little bit of cardio, and I'll be there anywhere from like an hour 15 to an hour 45. And then I'll come home, get ready for work. I usually leave around 7:30. It's only about like 25 minutes, so I gotta be to work by 8, and then I can leave work at 8:30, and I'm back home by 4. And because I'm in the thick of prep right now, I have to do some additional cardio. So I'm for sure usually home by 5 now. And now that I only have one class every other week because I'm about to take my comprehensives, I'll only have like 2 classes a month. So I'm very excited about that. So I should have, ample time to hang out with my family and make time for that. And I should be able to get all my cardio in, all my posing in, and hopefully be in bed by 7:30 every night. That's our goal.
Wow, as the sun goes down.
Honestly, the sun is still up right now because it's still summer, but me and my husband laugh like we are not, we act like old people because we get up so early, we have to go to bed by,
Yep.
8 o'clock at least. So we get, 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. I love my sleep. So
Totally. I wake up very early too, and I don't do as good of a job as you in getting to bed at 7:30. I make attempts. I'm like happy if I'm in bed by like 8:30 and I'm
that's
reading.
perfect.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
perfect.
like, this is great. So
So
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say last year, like all of last prep, 8:30 was our bedtime. But this coming school year, we've started to progressively get a little earlier. So
That's awesome. Well, you also giving so much of yourself. So can you tell everybody what you do for work and how you landed on this career?
yeah, totally. So my degree is in kinesiology, and the program that I went through is called PETE, which stands for Physical Education Teacher Education. And my minor is in APE, which is Adapted PE. So originally, my first job out of school, I was just a general ed PE teacher, and I taught first through eighth grade. And I quickly found out, like, no, I don't think I really like gen ed. So I was able to get another job teaching adapted PE, so working with kids with special needs. And I quickly decided, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. So I've done that for the past 5 years, just working with kids more mod severe. Lots of my students have or are on the spectrum, but other things like orthopedic impairments or just, very broad range. But I most recently got a job closer to home, so I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, so I kind of got into that though, heading to a 4-year college after my junior college. I thought, okay, maybe I'll be a teacher, maybe someday I'll be a mom. And being a teacher is like a really great schedule for that. And I'd been like an athlete all my life since, since starting track in first grade, and volleyball and basketball in fifth grade. So I love to like be athletic and move. So I just got into the kinesiology program, and then I got my first intro to adapted PE. You have to take the class even if you're not going to get that minor. And I just had so much fun in there, like changing out equipment and changing the rules and just making it accessible. And it was just more fun for me.
Wow. So it seems like you went from, this may not be my thing, which is a common I hear for teachers, like they go through the whole program and then they get there and they're like, oh gosh, I don't
Totally.
love this. But then you stumbled upon something you really were engaged by and enjoyed.
Definitely. It's more my speed. I don't know if this sounds bad to say, but in general ed, a lot of kids don't really love PE, and they'll like whine and complain and be like, why are we doing this? Or I'm sweaty. And then coming from an athletic background, I didn't have any sympathy really for that, or like, very much compassion for it. But working with my kids with special needs, like even if they're having a bad day, or maybe they're acting out, or their behavior or something like that, I just have so much love and I guess compassion might be the right word for them. And so, when they're having a bad day, it doesn't bother me. But for some reason, when my gen ed kids would whine and complain, I think it's because I come from a place of like being grateful for, being able to move my body. And so to hear the complaints really kind of got to me.
Yes. Oh, that's such an interesting perspective. Like you love it so much that having to like pull teeth to get
Yes.
people excited about it wasn't really speaking to you.
No, it wasn't. If I'm being completely honest, yeah, that was kind of a deterrent for me from teaching gen ed. That's why I made the switch, but I'm so happy I did.
Ah, gosh. Yeah, I think it's good perspective too, because like there's this passion that I think we all want to have or kind of seek out. And when we can share it with other people who enjoy it too, it's really great. But like, what's the difference in the approach? Like, what are some things you've learned by working with special needs population as opposed to general?
Sure. I think it has helped me to just even communicate with all people, because working with students that have special needs, you just really learn that they're just like everybody else. They're human. They have basic needs. They have wants. The only difference is depending on their disability, it might be harder for them to communicate it verbally or physically or something like that. But I've learned a lot of patience. I've learned a lot of planned ignoring for certain behaviors, which you can use on anyone, really.
Yeah.
the trolls online. Like, I'm going to ignore that, right? Patience for people who maybe you're not understanding what they're asking of you, but just, you know, asking things in a different way, because we are all different. We learn differently. We communicate differently. So I think it's totally helped me in all aspects, though.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's perspective, it seems like.
It is. Yes, it's perspective. That's the right word.
I personally gained a lot of that doing my internship in counseling, just exposure to different needs and populations and
Yes.
people. You learn so much from that alone. And yeah, I think it's really special. And I love that you do that. And now you're completed or almost complete with your master's, right?
Almost. I just need to take the test.
Yay! It's gonna
So
be
good.
so amazing.
I know, I can't wait.
Now, what will that allow you to do?
So basically, just getting my master's, I'll be able to make more money and be higher up on my steps for like my pay and stuff like that. But technically, I could teach at a junior college if I wanted to, or, some people will go on and, get their admin credential or get their doctorate or stuff like that. For me right now, I think I'll be happy with my master's just for a while at least. And, we'll see down the road if I change my mind.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm getting the sense that you're a real go-getter
Yeah.
and you'll go and do like one thing and immediately the next and the next. And like, I'm very similar. And after getting my master's, I was like, just chill, girl. Like, it's
Exactly.
okay. Like, you don't have to do the next thing right now.
Totally, totally. Yeah. Take a breath, right? Enjoy.
Yes. And you also own properties with your husband, right? That you guys manage and rent, or is it just one?
No, so we ended up buying like our first home together a couple years ago, and we just lived there for probably 2, 3 years, and we just sat on the house and we were able to, make a good profit off of it and essentially buy pretty much our dream home, which we're living in now. And we bought this a year and a half ago. So we just kind of, upgraded and we're able to put that towards, towards the next house or whatnot. So just we got lucky, buying at a good time and selling and then buying again at a good time. But yeah,
Yes.
no, it would actually be a dream of ours though to own properties. We talk about that a lot, having a few rentals and just, that extra income would be amazing. So I could definitely see us doing that in the future.
I love that. And you guys had started competing together way
Yeah.
back in 2014, right?
Yeah, it's kind of our love story, if I'm going to be honest.
Oh, can we hear more?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I met my husband. Well, I physically saw him at the gym because I used to work at a gym and he would come in late night, like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and he would work out after he got off of his job. But I didn't talk to him, like message back and forth until we matched on Tinder.
No way.
Yes, and this was, circa the end of 2013. We started messaging in December of 2013. And so, yes, he was always embarrassed for me to tell people that, but he's over it now. So then we started messaging and then talking in real life because we were both kind of shy when we saw each other in person. I was shy because I thought he was so cute and I didn't know what to say. I think he's just shy in general. But then we would, go on gym dates. And then I was prepping for my first show in May, just a couple months after I'd met him. It was a local show. And then we ended up prepping for the Tahoe show in August of 2014 together. And that was a pretty special show for us. I won overall bikini and he won overall physique.
Wow. So you got two champions up there.
And most recently, he started competing this last year too with me, and he made the switch to classic physique, and
Wow.
he really did really well. He got first place at the overall at the Sacramento show, and then overall at the San Jose Championships for classic physique.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did so great.
I love that. Is his goal to go pro as well?
Yeah, he is a lifetime natural. So that is his goal.
Wow.
So he was going to do Ben Weider, which is the
Mhm.
natural show that I got my card at. He was going to do it this year, but family circumstances came up, so he's going to put it off until next year. But he also did win a free entry when he won the Sacramento overall to go to Chattanooga, so he might do that one
Oh,
next year too.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so just like
Wow.
like I always said, like there's always another show. If you can't do this one or that one, like don't stress about it. Just wait and do the next one.
And I think that's the mentality of a champion, is being able to let go of the timeline and trust that like your time is, it will come and there's always opportunity.
Definitely. I think that's what gets most people. You think, oh, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose my shot. I'm going to lose my momentum. They're going to forget about me, or someone greater is going to come along. But what's meant for you is meant for you. And if you have the work ethic and, the genetics, because that's going to help you too, you'll be there when you're supposed to.
Yes. Yeah, totally. And are you also, maybe I shouldn't ask this, but are you also committed to being a lifetime natty?
Yes, I am. I mean, I definitely did win my pro card that way, and there's been no talk of that with my coach. My coach, Paul Revelia, is personally a lifetime natural himself, and my husband's coach, Stephen Bogrand, is personally a lifetime natural himself. So we feel like we're in really good hands with them. They are never the type of people to be like, oh, you want to take it to the next level? Like maybe you should do this. Like they've never once said anything like that to us. So I think that like our values align with them, and yeah, we picked the right team for us for sure.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it. And how do you think your relationship has evolved or maybe benefited as a result of living the same lifestyle?
It's really weird because I find that it is rare, but my husband and I are on the same page for so many things. It's kind of
Mm.
wild in the way of like, living a healthy lifestyle, loving competing, putting our families first, um, children, religion, politics, like everything. It's kind
Wow.
of wild to me that we can be so, so very similar. Um, but I mean, I think any relationship can still work as long as you respect the other person's beliefs. And so if you're different, it's okay too, but as long as you have that respect.
Yeah, and there's definitely something to be said about those big picture things, like the values. And a lot of times, if your values aren't aligned with your partner, you can have different personalities and all that, and to a
Totally.
degree, but like the values really matter, because that isn't that what makes up our life?
Honestly, yeah, if you're not aligning on something, say like children, how can you picture a future together?
Yeah, and since you brought it up, I'll ask, what
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on children?
Okay, so originally I would say our younger selves would be like, yeah, we're gonna have kids, like in, probably early 30s or something like that. But as we get older and older and older, that timeline keeps getting pushed. And we're just enjoying this chapter of our lives so
Mm.
much that there's no pressure and there's no time crunch. And we talk about it probably, every other day, honestly. Like, can we picture a fulfilled life without kids? Right now, yes, we can. Can we picture a fulfilled life with a child or two? Yes, we can. So we
Mm.
talk about it daily, but I think that our plan is to continue to enjoy our life day to day. And if things change, then we'll continue to talk about that. But there is no rush and no pressure for us. I am going to be 30 this year, but his mom had him when she was 36. So I don't feel extreme pressure to be popping out any babies anytime soon.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So it's funny you say that, because people will ask me like, do you want kids? And I'm like,
Yeah,
yes. And then they're like, well, when do you want kids? And I'm like, like 10 years. And then I say that every year. So if I've been
totally.
saying that for like the last 5 years,
Totally.
but it's
Yeah.
like, especially now, I think well, we don't want to say we have all the time, because we don't know, but at the same
Right.
time, like we have more time. And my mom also had me at a older age than most. And I think it's like, it it's possible. We don't have to put so much pressure on
Right.
ourselves.
And if we come to that, maybe in a couple years I would freeze my eggs if I'm still unsure or something like that. Like there are options, and I feel like it's more popular to be older and wait and have children and just mark off or tick off these boxes before you go down that road, because once you're there, obviously there's no going back. It's a very permanent decision.
Yeah, so true. And it's one of those things where they're like, well, if you go through your life, you wanted kids, and then you don't have them, you might regret it forever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a really scary thought. But as women, like we are under a timeline to
Right.
some degree.
Right.
And so it can sometimes feel like pressure, but I love that you guys talk about it so openly. And it sounds like you're just on the same page with so many things, and it's been beneficial to have the support of each other, and you guys are very aligned in that. Now, have you ever done a prep without him being on prep as well?
Yeah, so let's see. We've always kind of either done one exactly together, or I'm, finishing one and he's starting one. So it's been really helpful when we are doing it that way. That being said, I am kind of the only one prepping at this moment. He is more in a building phase and a maintenance phase. So, he has some more leniency, with his macros or just eating, more of our like family meals together and not worrying so much about, Sunday dinner, what we're having. But he's so supportive. Like if I'm like, babe, I need you to cook this, he'll cook it for me. Or, I don't have time to do something. Or, he respects using the scale because he gets it. So yeah, he's
Mhm.
very supportive. So it's not harder for me at all because he is, a competitor as well.
Yeah. And I'm sure he wants to see you succeed, and you are in prep now with the
Totally.
motivation and that drive to get to the Olympia one day. So I'd love to hear what you're focusing on, and how you're prioritizing or supporting your goal.
Yeah. So I did quite a few pro shows just in spring. I did 5 in 1 month
Yes, I
because
remember when you were on your roll. It's like, this girl has no quit. I love it.
I did 5 in 1 month because that month of April had 5 weekends. So I
So
did
cool.
3 in a row, and then I had 1 week off, and then I did that. Or sorry, 4 and 5 weeks. That's right. And then I had 1 week off, and then I did that last one. And then I did 2 that were unplanned kind of after that. In hindsight, I probably should have stopped after the 4 in a row because I was doing really well. But at the same time, like, I needed to give my body a break. I'm not sure like how it is for other people, whether they're natural or not natural, but I'm finding I have been grinding for, let's see, February. I've been grinding or prepping for a year and a half now, on and off, with only small increments of reversing. And my body was just getting tired, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to give my body a rest. But so yeah, with all the shows that I've done since I came back to the circuit, and then with my coach, I've only had a 12-week reverse, an 8-week reverse, and an 8-week reverse. Other than
Wow.
that, I've been, in maintenance or a deficit to be lean. So it's really not that much over a year and a half. So yeah, I did a lot in the spring and I got a good amount of points. I got 10 points for Olympia. But then as soon as you stop competing, the other girls keep going and going and going. So there's quite a few girls ahead of me now. But you always kind of hope that the girls ahead of you win a show, because then it knocks them off the list. and
Ah.
then and then you're back at the top again. But yeah, regardless, I know I'd have to come back this fall and get more points, or just get a win and solidify that.
Do you know what their cutoff date is this year?
Yeah, so the last show of the year, I believe, is Sean. think I think his name is Sean, and it's the show in Hawaii, 11/19, I believe it
Oh,
is. That's going to be the cutoff for Olympia. Any show after that will get you points or qualify you for 2023 Olympia.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you qualify
hmm
and then do you go on and compete again before the Olympia and maybe lock in a spot for the following year as well?
That's a good question. So I could, if I say I qualify for Olympia this year, I could do maybe a show right before Olympia. I think there's one in Texas. It's actually the one I did my pro debut, the Battle Up.
Oh.
So if I went and I did that one right before Olympia, potentially you could solidify that spot immediately. I'm sure a handful of girls will do it. Last year, Jen Ronziti did it, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how she got her Olympia qualification for this year. And she hasn't hit the stage since. You know what I mean? Something about just having an entire year to know that you can just strictly improve and not be grinding is like a really good feeling.
Totally. And some people will say like, oh, you should be getting in front of the judges more, you should be getting seen more.
Right.
So, and there's definitely a benefit to all of that, but there's also, like you said, there's that mental piece of knowing like I don't have to because I'm qualified and I can just focus on bringing my best.
Right. I think that there are probably certain people, or people who might need to, maybe they can do that for a year, but then the next year they might need a longer break. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of just have to go with what your body is telling you, I would say.
And you've now been going at this for a long time with those very short breaks, like you said.
Right.
And I think it's underestimated sometimes what is required of athletes, especially I think natural athletes in this pursuit, because you got to like maintain or stay lean, and then you're always within like that striking distance. But we all know too, listening, regardless of the path you take in this sport, like when you're committed to that, those 12-week, 8-week plus reverse diets, whatever, that are very small and short, they
Mm-hmm.
feel still like preps, I would
They do.
say.
They do, yeah. You're like, but is this real? Do I really get to even eat a treat? You know what I mean? Like, if you're
Right.
sticking to those true macros, no, you're not going to be getting donuts and pizza. I'm sorry. Reverse macros are not high enough to have all that unless you eat 2 meals that day. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
yeah, you're getting more food, but it's almost probably more like a diet break, I would say, where you're still eating clean, you're just eating more of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like an improvement season where you've done your reverse, you have maybe a bit more freedom where your coach is like, enjoy a meal or two out a week or have a
Right.
day of no tracking.
That's my goal is to have long enough time off that I get a weekend date that I don't have to track.
Wow, I sure hope you get that. I
Hopefully,
love that that's the goal.
yes, after, whatever happens next, that'll be where I go regardless.
Yeah,
And
that's go for
sorry,
it.
I was gonna just say, I've already also come to like conclusions or accepted, I'm doing this prep right now, and if I don't respond, it's gonna be okay. So if
Mm.
my body is not ready for this and it's not responding to the macro cut or the increased cardio or anything like that, like I've already talked with my coach, I'm like, I'm okay with that. And if it's not ready, then that's fine. Then we'll just come back next year well rested and just obviously excited to try to qualify again.
Yeah, again, that's that like champion mentality of like, I'm going to show up and do what I need to do. If it doesn't, if the timeline doesn't work out, it doesn't derail me. We're living this lifestyle regardless. It's just like, okay, new
Right.
approach. It's fine.
Right.
We shift gears.
I agree.
So if you won Miss Bikini Olympia, what's something you would want people to take away from the journey that you've had?
Um, I just feel so connected with the fact that I left for such a significant amount of time and then came back. I just feel like I want everybody to know that because like you said, in like this field and in this sport, everyone has a sense of urgency. Like, I need to be pro now. I need to get on pro stage now. I need to do this now. And I think that's why drugs are so heavy in this industry, because everybody wants it now. Yes, you're putting in the daily grind, but you're trying to speed up the process to get there. And it has its dangerous side effects. As we know, so many great bodybuilders have died in the past few years. So I don't know. I just think that sharing the fact that delayed gratification, it might
Mhm.
be the best gratification, putting in the work and the time and the years, and then being able to earn that would be so special.
That's amazing. And you have that ability to prove that that's possible, and you are like walking and living and breathing in that, and I think that's so cool because you can show people that they can have things outside of bodybuilding too and be successful. Just like
Yeah.
even looking at your journey thus far, it's like, wow, this is a woman who has so many other things that she's invested in and interested in and spends her time on and is focused on growing it. And she's still being very successful in bodybuilding.
Yeah. I think if you are passionate about multiple things, you should, pursue multiple things. And if you're diligent in your bodybuilding and your nutrition, like, you can always hop back on or just be prepared and, do a show in whatever timeline you set yourself up for. But yeah, I don't see why we have to limit ourselves to one genre or one thing.
Yes, totally. And that speaks to some of the like I think what gets preached often too is like there's no balance in success. And I think that balance is a weird and elusive term for sure, but like you can have maybe like 80% of your eggs in one basket and still attend to the other baskets too, like
Totally. Yeah,
you don't have to give it's that all or nothing mentality we can let go of and know that it's safe to let go of it and you can still be successful.
I agree. Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, what has been some of your feedback over the years and what have you done to make adjustments based on that feedback, especially given that you've had only those short like breaks?
Yeah. So, some of the feedback after Universe, which was my first national show with my coach Paul, I needed more upper and outer glutes to fill out that, and then just a little more shoulders as well. So then I did a 12-week reverse and came back, and we did the Sacramento show in November, and I won overall. And they literally, Tyler and Etela and Sandy, they were all like, come to nationals in December, bring exactly the same package, same hair, same makeup, same look, bring that. And I was like, okay, cool. But I had, I had nationals as like my backup plan, because Ben Weider was a couple weeks before that, 2 weeks before that. And so I was like, I'm going to go to Ben Weider. I'm going to give myself an extra shot to try to get my pro card. So we did Ben Weider instead. And Becky Clausen was the judge there, which I'd never been in front of before, but that's okay. We just went there and did our thing, and I was able to get overall, and the one overall from each category got their pro card. So that's where I got that. And then made my pro debut in December. I'm kind of getting lost here. Where was I going with this?
That's a really cool story actually. So when you went and did your pro debut in December, did you get in front of Tyler, Sandy, Etela?
Okay, so yeah, and then in December, because there was only 2 shows left in the year for a pro debut, one was Battle Up, which I did do, and then the other one was in Georgia. And I could not do that. Being a teacher, I had taken so many Fridays off. I could not afford to take another one right before, around Christmas time or whatever it was. So when I went to Texas, Battle Up, it was a head judge, Bill, who I'd also never been in front of. So both my pro card and pro debut were in front of new judges, but it worked out well.
Yeah, they loved you.
Yeah. I remember what I was talking about now. It was the feedback. So then going off of feedback for that, then after seeing Bill in my pro debut, it was just, again, more glutes fuller glutes. I would say was pretty dieted down by the time I did do my pro debut. You're a little bit smaller version of yourself. So then I did an 8-week reverse, getting ready for my spring season. And after I did the Clash, jumped into that one last minute, had food poisoning the week of, and then I decided to switch up my posing, which was not a good move because I got feedback like, your posing is awkward and were you trying to hide your glute? And I was like, no, I definitely was not. So Paul's like, all right, back to the drawing board, go back to your old posing. We're going back to that look. It was more balanced. So then 1 week later, I made my original 2022 season, intro, which I had originally planned. And that was at Spectrum because that's in, near my hometown. It's in Sacramento. So all my family came out to support. And just 1 week later, we made tanning improvements, posing improvements. My digestion was much better because I did not have food poisoning anymore. And so I just looked like a new person, honestly. And I ended up getting third there. And Sandy was like, wow, much improved, like, great job. So then I went to Wasatch the next weekend and Becky was the judge there. And I got third. And that one was like so memorable for me because I was up there with Ashley Kaltwasser and India Paulino. And I was losing my mind. I was
Legends.
literally legends, literally GOAT, literally like OG, you know what I mean? So that was pretty insane. And I got third there. And I can't even remember feedback for that one. And then the next one was Girl Power. And why am I blanking right now on name? That was my judges. I can't remember right now. I'm blanking, but my feedback there was that I was just a touch too full because we were playing, with fullness, like testing out burgers, testing out fries, testing out, how I'm carbing up, how many carbs, how far before. We usually do like linear loading. So that one, I just would say I was a touch too full and I lost a little bit of detail in my hamstrings, but that was like the most full look that I brought to date. So then fast forward, I tightened back up and I did muscle contest, and that one was just a flop. I'm not gonna lie. I personally felt like that was, to date, that was my best physique. It just was not well received by the judges. I was new to them. They have never ever seen me before. So I got the most random feedback for that one. They told me that the main judge told me that my side glute stuck out too much. And I was like, what? What does that mean? And he's like, oh, well, if you're doing squats like this, don't do that. And I was like, well, I don't do that. So I don't know what to do. But so I just took that with a grain of salt. And then we did Miami, and Tim Gardner was there, and he was like, you have everything you need. You're a diamond in the rough, and you just need to keep showing up and fine tuning, and you're going to have your day, So as of late, I haven't gotten any specific feedback where it's like more growth. So it's more like fine tuning now. So that's kind of a good feeling,
Yeah, that's awesome. And what nice, encouraging, reassuring words after feeling like you had your best physique at a show but flopped.
I know, that was a learning lesson right there too,
Yeah, that sometimes you can bring your best and it not be enough, or
Totally, yeah. And I mean, what you think might be your best cannot be received by others, or you never know who shows up that day, or, and just to be able to pick yourself back up and not take it too seriously. It's one day and it's a couple judges and it's their opinion. But just because someone placed me 12th doesn't mean that I'm a 12th placing. Do you know, like I can show up to the next one and I can win. You see that all the time with bikini. I saw a girl last week who was 10th, and at Tahoe, Tahoe, she just got her Olympia qualification. So you can literally go from second call outs to first call outs in one show.
So true.
So don't give up because you got 12.
Yes. Like don't over identify with a placing that you
Yeah.
can't move forward and improve or do better for yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're not good enough or that you don't have you know, you don't have what it takes. It just means you need to try again.
Love that. And you have been on this road, and I had gone through some of your placings earlier, and you've shared with us these other shows. But in order to win your pro card at Ben Weider, you had to win the overall, which you did. And you had mentioned in a video being totally shocked. So I was wondering, like, what was that moment really like for you on the side of the stage as they went through each number and then there was only two of you left? Like, did you expect it at that point, or do you
Yeah.
remember what was going through your head?
I totally went into that show just with the most confidence that I had had to that point, because you really do build your confidence by, ticking all the boxes and knowing that you did every single thing that you were supposed to do. And up until that point, I had done every session, I had done all my posing, I had stuck to every macro, I had, dreamed about it, wrote about it, like told myself in my head over and over, I am going to get my pro card, manifested it, if you will. So I really did have a lot of confidence going into the show. And standing on the sidelines, I was just waiting to hear my name. I wasn't waiting thinking, oh, they're going to call someone else. I was waiting for them to say Lawna or whatever my number was. So I think that's all I was thinking about, that I was going to win.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't know if it really helps or it portrays on stage with your confidence and your posing, but in my mind, I told myself, like, you are going to win.
From the moment you stepped on stage or in that moment?
I think from the whole weekend, like going there, like, I'm going to win,
Love that.
manifesting it fully.
Yeah, like you have to own it so that
Yeah,
you can wear it.
I think so. I think it really must translate.
Absolutely. I mean, even just think like, if you're sitting down with someone, you're having a hard conversation, you might be more slumped over, hugging your
Mhm.
stomach, like slouching. But if you're
Right.
like talking about things that you feel really passionate about or excited about or happy things, you make your body's more open.
Right. Totally. Yeah, it translates. You can see it, you can read it.
Absolutely. Now, do you think that the Ben Weider Naturals is a show natural competitors have a better shot at and should do, or do you feel the competition was similar at other national shows?
Um, I would say specifically last year probably was a great year for any competitor to do it, because it normally is in it's held in Canada, but because of COVID, they knew that it would be hard for people to travel there. So I feel like this last year it was a hidden gem in the way of that there were not like hundreds of competitors like there are at a national show. Of course, only one person in the overall wins. So that narrows down quite a few pro cards. They're only handing out like, 7 or 8 pro cards total, as opposed to if you went to USA's, it's 2 for each height category. So that's a lot more chances. But because the show was smaller, I feel like I had great chances. And then definitely if you're a natural athlete, I think any way you can set yourself up to go against more natural athletes, then it's going to be beneficial for you. That being said, I think that people who know what they're doing can probably still do certain things and know how to get off of them in time. Because there are people who, just based off of being around so many people who do steroids, look like they might not have been natural, if you know what I'm getting at.
Mhm.
But are still there competing, and so
That was fairly controversial last year.
it doesn't mean that you're not going to run into somebody who's still doing stuff. Is it right? No. Does it happen? Yes. But I
Yeah.
think it would be beneficial if you're natural to try to get your pro card at a natural show, because it'll deter a few people at least.
Definitely.
Also, the show was just a great show. So
Yeah, and it's in Virginia again
yeah,
this year. So
we loved
oh,
it. It was in fall time and the trees were beautiful and the weather was nice. It was like a Hallmark Christmas card. It was beautiful. Yes,
stop.
I loved it so much.
I love Hallmark movies.
Ah, you need to go in fall.
They
Well,
literally
it was mid no, it was like yeah, end of November. So they already had like Christmas stuff up and they had those cute little
no.
wreaths on all of the lights in the street and it was just adorable.
Oh my gosh, I love that. See, like those are like the experiences too that are so cool about being a competitor and like traveling. I mean, obviously you can do this like anytime you travel, but like those
Yes.
little things go such a long way.
We do. That's another element of why we've been having so much fun doing our shows is just the traveling and the sightseeing and meeting people and our teammates and enjoying good food after a show, you know?
Yes. It's so cool. Um, yeah, that's a show I want to do
I
this
would
year.
recommend.
And I'm like so bummed, sort of like, okay, so right now, like I'm doing these two shows I told you about, and then
Right.
I'm going on a family vacation.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I want to just like relax because I've been in prep since November 2021. And
Oh,
I'm like,
totally.
let's just see how North Americans goes, and then maybe I won't even have to regret it.
Totally.
And I'm like, whatever happens. And it goes back to your earlier point about like life things come up, there's other priorities, and it's good to just like know that you can give yourself that time and space, and what's meant to be will be.
Yeah. Honestly, like if spending, that quality time out at dinner with your family or just, being able to relax and let your hair down and not worry about every macro, like that's important too sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what would be your best advice for someone who has never competed before but would like to? And then your best advice for someone on their road to pro?
Okay. If you've never competed before and you would like to,
Mhm.
I would recommend that you do get yourself a coach. Going from having no concept of what you're doing to being on stage in a bikini, being judged by people, there's a lot that goes on in between. And to save yourself a lot of time, energy, and trial and error, I would recommend getting a coach. And then going along with that, maybe somebody who is on road to pro, getting a proper coach that aligns with you and then also has good science-based nutrition. None of the bro science stuff. I feel like a lot of coaches are kind of set in their ways of what old school bodybuilders did rather than what I would say is more new age or new school science-based nutrition. I'll give an example like for my peak week, I am not cutting any water. I am not cutting any sodium because your muscles need water and sodium to be full on stage. If you are cutting water and sodium, you're going to look like a flat pancake. I am linear loading into the show. So, say Sunday and Monday or Saturday and Sunday of peak week, I am doing the most cardio and eating the least carbs. And each day, as I get closer to show, I decrease my cardio and I increase my carbs. And a lot of people will actually lose weight doing this into the show. I can't explain the science of it. That's why I have a coach. But linear loading is something that has really worked for me. And then, yeah, so I think having a science based coach, not a bro coach, will help you to become a pro. I mean, you can become a pro the bro way too. It's just harder on your body, and I don't think you'll last as long, personally.
Personally.
Personally, that's my personal, in my opinion.
I love that.
The shade.
Oh man. It's
Right.
funny because like I totally followed like bro science type approach for so long, and now that I'm with a coach that's so much more like
Right.
actual science and insight and taking, gosh, my body's responding so much better. So if you want to see a flat pancake, look at Celeste USA's 2020. She was stringy on stage, depleted, all that. I think, now I'm bringing a much different package, but I think it's good for competitors to hear that, especially from a pro like you, like that you can approach competing this way. Just because maybe even some top level coaches still do bro science, it doesn't mean you, and top level athletes, as I doesn't mean you're not going to be successful if you don't either.
Right. I feel comfortable like talking about it because I totally did bro science too. Back when I was 21 and 22, I drank like no water. I had a headache the entire day of the show. I was eating, fish and asparagus and did not carb up enough. And I did all of those things that I said you should not be doing. But that's why when I decided I wanted to become a pro, I knew I needed to hire somebody that knew what they were doing. So yeah, there are pros, there are people out there who do still do bro science and they make it through, but there are people who are on teams where their coach gives bro science advice and they don't follow it and they do their own protocol because they know it's not right. But then all those coaches continue to get the hype and they continue to see, oh, they have this Olympia bikini girl. And so girls will go to that coach and then unknowingly they show up looking like pancakes because they think the pros are following it and they're not. So I feel like this misinformation is not helpful to newbies and people who want to become a pro. I think it's helpful to expose that.
Yes, I was just gonna say I love the realness because
not
it's
everybody,
not often you hear this.
No, not everybody who is an Olympian follows what their coaches say and they know the proper way to do it. But sometimes you just want the name of a coach because it's a name of a coach. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Oh, yes, girl. I know exactly what you're talking about. I feel like most of these conversations happen off the record. I just love that you're saying it.
Well, I'm not naming anybody. I'm just saying any new person, you just really need to know what you're getting yourself into. And if your coach is giving you zero fat and making you eat tilapia and asparagus only, something is not right.
Yeah. And back when I followed similar protocol, I would have been like, I don't want to hear that because I think I want to convince myself I'm doing the right thing.
Right. I know it's really hard.
Yeah.
And you want to be tough and you want to stick it out and you've worked so hard and all of those things, but there are actual repercussions as far as your hormones, your brain functioning, your true health you're putting on the line. Your digestion issues. So many girls get digestion issues from, these crazy low fat, low calorie diets because they're, it's hard on your body.
And like no variety.
That too. Yeah. Yeah. Meal plan isn't for me. I like macros. So
usually I end the episode with like that question, but I actually am curious now, like what's your go-to macro meal? Like what's your favorite thing?
Oh, I'm a creature of habit. So honestly, for the past year and a half, I've been having breakfast for lunch and dinner. So I'm just like a breakfast person in general, but I love to make me like a giant, like I say giant, but I just make it voluminous by all the things I put in it. But usually like a packet of oats, like maple flavor, brown sugar, something like that. And then I like either Greek yogurt or cottage cheese. I like frozen blueberries for the texture, a little drizzle of peanut butter, a little crumble of, caramel rice cakes. I'm really into texture and then like warm and cold.
Yes, me too.
And then don't forget your cinnamon and you have to do some salt because salt just enhances everything.
Okay, the first time I heard that, I was like, no. And then I did it and I was like, what have I been missing out on?
Oh, and then I always share this with everyone. If you're an ice cream junkie, then you need to start eating Yasso.
Okay, I haven't tried that.
It is the most macro friendly ice cream you could have. And it's better than Halo Top. It's better than Enlightened. It doesn't taste, like icy plain. It's technically it's a Greek yogurt bar and it's like on a stick and they're anywhere from 80 to 100 calories, but it's about 6 protein and 15 carbs and 0 fat. So it's like the perfect little macro cap for the end of your night.
That was so awesome of you just there, how you knew. Like, I'm
Yes.
like, wow, this girl's been studying these Yasso bars. She went through the ice cream aisles, found the best one.
Honestly, I love them. They're so like, they're actually legit and they taste so good. Like they have brownie and mint chip and cookie dough and they have coffee chip and Casey Samsel, she loves those too.
Yes, she's been on this show as well.
Yes,
she didn't talk about the Yasso the way you are.
They're so good. So yeah, get yourself some Yasso too.
That's awesome. I was literally going through the store the other day. I was like, I wish someone would just tell me like which of these taste the best for the macros. Because
100%.
I usually get, so it's perfect timing that you would do that. Because I usually get the kind, they're so good. To me, they taste like frozen Snickers. But the kind ones, they're so good. If you like Snickers ice cream.
I love Snickers and I love ice cream, so why not?
Yes, so you should try it, but it is higher in fat. So I'm like, dang, I would need, yeah, it's like 15 fat, I think. So, well, oh no, it's less than that. I'm sorry. Well, it might be a little less than that. 8
of peanut butter.
It's like a serving of peanut butter, exactly. Because I remember I used to do that instead of a rice cake and peanut butter when I was realizing that I wanted to do a macro-based approach instead of a meal-based approach. Yeah, so I was like, oh my God, I can replace this. But anyway, I'm going to try those Yasso bars. I'll get back to you on that. But how can everybody connect with you, follow you, and continue to support this journey?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram, Lawna Dunbar, is it _, IFBB Pro. I have TikTok. I haven't been as active on it since my master's program. It's the same though, Lawna Dunbar _ IFBB Pro. I think I even have an email. If you wanted to email me, it's Lawna Dunbar IFBBPro@gmail.com. But yeah, mostly just DM on Instagram. I'm on that every day, so I'll be checking up on it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to put all of that in the show notes page. You guys, that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. Not only will you see all the ways to connect with Lawna, but you're also going to see a full breakdown of the episode, summary of the topics covered, as well as episode timestamps. So when you are like thinking, what was that ice cream she mentioned? You'll know exactly where to find it.
I love that.
Yes. And appreciate you guys sharing it with all your teammates, friends, listening in the car ride, everything that you guys do. It goes a long way. And if you guys can screenshot, tag us, let us know your main takeaways. That's always super awesome to see because we love to listen along with you or celebrate with you and be part of your journey. And appreciate you all listening, tuning in again. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.